Hey, hey. Are we live? Are we live? Is this thing on? Are we doing it live? Looks like we're doing it live. It's on. All right. Oh, I just ran all the way up and down the stairs to make sure everything was squared away. I'm looking for John. War Eagle, everybody. Okay. So it is 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Communist Time in the Eastern Bloc. And time to get this train rolling. Again, I'm out of breath. I just ran up the stairs to grab my phone to make sure that if John needed to text me about anything, he could. So let me just All right. So I'm assuming that we are recording. We're going to kick things off here in just a minute. Let's see. We got the outline around here somewhere. Oh, yeah. I moved everything around. All right. See, we were all set, and then I decided to rearrange. Okay, here we go. Got it. Got our outline. So, yeah, we're basically just going to be recording our regular podcast. We're just going to do it live right here for everybody to watch that wants to. So, here comes. Oh, I'm an idiot. I have to invite John. All right, hold on. I'm sending a message to John right now. It'll take about 2 seconds, and we'll be going. Here goes. He should pop up in our little video box here in just a second. And we'll kick this thing off. John is in the studio audience. Yeah. All right. Somebody said, will hell freeze over before Auburn hires a coach? Asking for a friend. In hell? Probably. That's not the one I was looking for. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. John is, well, he's coming. All right. I know we've got quite a few comments. You guys are having a fascinating conversation before I even logged in. But any second now, we'll be joined by John. We will kick this thing off. Let's see what we got. A couple of, let's see, Josh Corbett. Hey, Josh. Van and John, thanks for what y'all do. Hey, we love it. We appreciate you guys listening. I've listened since 2012. That is amazing. You couldn't have listened any earlier than that. That's pretty much going back to the very beginning. Those were grim times. Yeah, this is looking like it could be a major setback for our blood program. Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight here in just a second. Any second now. Any second. I imagine John is trying to get everything to work. I remember the last time we did this, he had technical problems. So, oh, hold on. Maybe he's just going to be a disembodied. No, I do not want to ban him from the studio. So, hey, Dan. I know. I may have to get a sub. Here you go. Oh, John, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Do you remember last time we did the StreamYard thing? It didn't like my camera. So
I do remember that.
Plugging it back in and trying different things. And
now you may recall there was a time where I said maybe we want to think about getting you some better equipment since we have our Patreon now. I'm perfectly happy with doing that as a very responsible use of the funds that are entrusted to us. And there went John.
Oh.
Okay, you left and now you're back.
It's because I'm unplugging and plugging the camera into different things.
The wall, the light switch.
I have a desktop with a bunch of different USB inputs. So we're trying that. Again, you invite me mid-show. This is,
I know.
You could just mute me and go on talking to the audience, and I'll figure it out.
No, if not, what we're mainly doing is recording our podcast. So even if they don't see your face, we're at least going to have you on here to talk. Crying out loud. We've done it before. Auburn says John is interviewing for the LSU podcast. Yeah. Well, we don't know what John has on. It's the big mystery right now. Eyes without a face. Woo! Oh, man. How's it going there?
Not well. So,
I'm just going to go on bestbuy.com and order you like a complete suite and have it shipped to your house.
I'm fine. Don't invite me while we're on the air and then ask me to do tech support in the middle of the podcast on this stuff. So,
do what you got to do. Yeah, I forgot that you were having so many issues.
I'm not having issues. It's with the StreamYard is the issue. This actually works on other things. So
that's weird. John needs Auburn Elvis on the side. Yeah, we all need an Auburn Elvis that we can pull in for.
John is actually fairly competent. Be honest.
I know you are. Absolutely. Oh, that goes again. Oh, you know what our technical issues always make me want to do, don't you?
Smoke weed every day.
To talk about tonight.
No, this isn't a big show. It's fine. So how many sockets are left to plug something into? I'm curious now.
Well, it depends on whether I want to unplug other stuff. I'm not taking the computer apart in the middle of the podcast. So.
This is probably more entertaining than what we were going to talk about anyway, to be honest. Auburn Elvis says if John is wearing a purple and yellow tie, we know what's up. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. I'm trying to find a football talk. Remember this one? It is, yes. Rusty sums it up eloquently. Riveting radio.
That's it. Go and start, and I'll just catch up. I mean, I could talk while I'm doing this at the same time, so just go.
I'm saying, yeah, it's fine. That's fine. All right, well, let's kick it off then. It's 8:09, so that's fine. That's actually earlier than. Yes, I agree, Wiggle. It's actually earlier than we usually actually get started. So, all right. Let me go ahead and find my number, as I always do. You guys that listen on the podcast but don't see us beforehand, every show I'm like about to start, and then I go, oh, wait, the number. And I have to dig around all the stuff on my desk to find the number list, see? And it's not always Wishbone, because we did a couple of Ready Player One shows this week. In fact, people have been listening to that Mira show. I was curious to see what people thought about that, where Mira got to actually come and do her first actual podcast. All right, let me put John back in. I keep having to add you back in. All right, here we go. White Rocket Entertainment, podcast number 511. Hello and welcome to the AU Wishbone, brought to you by White Rocket Entertainment in association with thewareeaglereader.com and by people like you out there in TV land, the Auburn family, the AU Wishbone family. You are our patreon.com family, and what would we do without you? Who am I? I'm Van Allen Plexico. And we are doing this live right now over YouTube and Periscope, I believe, on Twitter. And John is trying to get himself insinuated into the show. So I'll just say I'm joined as always by my co-host.
I'm John Ringer.
There he is. And John, we have a couple of things to talk about tonight.
Actually, we have breaking news. Are you ready for this?
Oh, hold on. Go ahead.
Breaking news. Sharif Cooper cleared to practice with the basketball team. Not play,
Whoa!
Just practice.
Now, how do you clear him to practice but not play?
They're still figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he doesn't play, then you couldn't retroactively have to forfeit games, right? But if he practices, that wouldn't affect any wins or losses, I'm assuming.
That's right. The word I am hearing is that he is expected to be cleared soon.
I heard some talk the other day that somebody was saying it had been like 0% chance he would ever play for us, and now it was looking more like 50-50. So not that we want to go down the rabbit hole of all the stuff that was involving, but yeah, that is truly breaking news. That would be great, because it occurred to me this morning that if he never, even if he only plays this season, so who was our great player that went to the NBA, got drafted like the 5th pick this past year?
Okoro.
Isaac Okoro, yes. If Cooper only plays this year, we would have had Isaac Okoro and Sharif Cooper, and neither one of them ever play in a postseason game for Auburn. And that is truly depressing. But that's our luck. So that's just kind of the way it goes. Josh said he isn't free, just on parole. And he was practicing, wasn't, now is. Yeah, no kidding. That would be great. That would give us some much needed good stuff coming out to counter some of this bad stuff for sure. That sounds like an Alabama kind of record. Okay. Well, I think what we need to do, well, first we need to take a moment to remember Kevin Green, because Kevin Green was an awesome, I believe, linebacker at Auburn, walk-on linebacker at Auburn in the early Pat Dye era, and then went on to play defensive end in the NFL, mostly for the Steelers, the Packers, I believe. Yeah. And he, I'm not exactly sure what happened to him, but today word came out. I was kind of like thinking it couldn't be right, couldn't be accurate at first, but yeah, in the middle of all this other crazy stuff going on, we lost Kevin Green. So that's depressing, but
it is a great pass rusher, both at Auburn and the NFL. I mean, had 11 sacks his senior year at Auburn, but also went into Auburn ROTC. In addition to being on the football team, he was commissioned as an officer, went through the Armor Basic Course, and went through Airborne School. Yes, Josh, I could see the comments on the side of the screen. So just can't get my camera to work. So anyhow, yeah, I mean, rest in peace, Kevin Green.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, Rusty says heart attack is what I heard. Yeah. I suspected that it was probably Oh, and then one of your brothers pops up and says, worked out with his son and his wife, found him in the bathroom. Yeah. Working out. So, yeah, probably strained him and he was probably having some issues he probably didn't even know about. Yeah. So, won't speculate beyond that, but it's just sad. So, all right. Well, a lot going on. So, we talked about Sharif Cooper. We talked about Kevin Green. Those are both stories that would be really big on the other day, but there is something else going on, and that's that Sergio Perez is going to get to drive for Red Bull next year.
I don't know who that is.
Checo, free Checo. No, the big story, of course, is the coaching search, and we have a few things to say about it. Do we not?
We do.
All right, take it away. You can run the point on this little part.
All right, so we're going to do some. First question is, if you had to describe your feelings about the coaching search in one word right now, what would that word be?
Barf. Barf.
Maybe mine would be disappointing, but I like barf. So we're gonna talk about the process to this point and a few questions and issues around it, and then we're gonna talk about candidates and stuff. And we're going to talk about some of the rumors around the coaching search and what people are saying and all that. And I want to say two things at the beginning. One is the evaluation of whoever we hire and however they end up getting hired will be, a year or two from now. So it's not going to be win the press conference thing. It's going to be something we evaluate down the road. So I think that's important to think about. And because again, we have seen a lot of coaches hired in the last 2 or 3 years that won the press conference that aren't any good now, right? That have disappointed tremendously.
Sure.
Tom Hermans and Scott Frosts and Justin Fuentes and on and on and on. So winning the press conference isn't the thing, it's down the road. So that's number one. And number two, we're going to talk about some of these rumors, but you and I are not there, and they're rumors. And so that's all we're going to give them as rumors. It's not, this is what absolutely happened. This is what, some people say happened, and it can be skeptical about whether that's real or not. So, but because again, people providing information have reasons they provide it, and sometimes it's to slant things the way they want to. So that's part of the reason information gets out. So
you got a search committee with 57 people on it, like it seemed like we had. I mean, they've been leaking like the Nixon White House. It's like, Woodward and Bernstein all over Twitter just been telling us it's like I was watching the development of the committee in real time while wondering, how am I watching what the committee is doing here? There might as well be a camera in the room, on the Zoom thing or whatever. It's like how, you get every so often a tweet would come through like, oh, they're doing this. Oh, no, now they're doing this. Well, now this person has said no. Now they're talking to this person. Now this person has said no. Now this person wants this. I'm like, how do we know all this? How are we getting all this information?
Good questions. And that's one of the things we need to talk about is, why do we know some of those things? Why do we know some of those things now? Right. So let's step back a little bit. Big picture. Gus was fired a week ago yesterday. And since then, we had signing day coming Wednesday. There was pressure to try to, we thought they might try to do something before then, a week ago in this podcast. It seems like forever ago in coaching search time. We then didn't hire somebody right away. And you're right. We hired a search firm and put a committee together. And now they're talking to people. And there's lots of names out there that they may have talked to or tried to talk to or not talked to. But it's, the rumors and the speculation out there are not good. And so they, thank you, Elvis. It's really helping. The rumors were that the ugly pieces of the rumors were that, Kevin Steele and Rodney Garner have been talking behind the back of Gus to some of the Board of Trustees members and other people, other boosters, to try to get Gus out. I don't know about that one, but it's out there. And then also that the plan all along was to kind of force Steele through as the preferred candidate. That was the deal along. And so, and then there was other pieces of it. There's been rumors that part of it is to get rid of the current athletic director and make somebody else the athletic director and that kind of stuff. And then it was, we know who it was. So Tim Jackson. So that's it. We'll talk a little bit about hiring philosophy and all that kind of stuff. But there was a lot of bad rumors over the last week, and you've seen as the coaching search goes along, like as Vane was describing, all these leaks and stories and all that stuff. These cause problems, right? And these, may make potential candidates get out there and see what they want, question the value of applying to Auburn. So so then when Kevin Steele emerged as the front running candidate a week ago, whatever, a huge online campaign broke out, parroting the election stuff called Stop the Steal. And a bunch of people were tweeting that hashtag.
Stop the Steal. That's a different campaign.
Same thing. So they
it's not the same thing, John. It's
so
not the same thing at all. It's not the same thing.
They tweeted Stop Steele to prevent Kevin Steele from being the head coach. And we'll get into him as a candidate and how we feel about that and all that. But we're just rehashing events of the last week, all right? So
can I note?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want there were two things about Steele. One was that allegedly he and our defensive line coach, names always evaporate from my head when I'm in front. Rodney Garner were working behind the scenes to try to oust
Yes.
Gus. And the other thing was that they were promising Steele he would be the next head coach because he wants to finish out his retirement years in the Alabama system, which is the exact same thing we went through in 1998 with Brother Oliver. Remember, Brother Oliver came to Auburn because Alabama was letting him go and he wanted to work his last few years and get his retirement. They promised him he'd be the head coach after they fired Terry. He basically stabbed Terry in the back. And then instead we hired Tuberville. So we've seen this movie before almost exactly. It's amazing. More things change, more they stay exactly the same.
It is. And we'll get into some of the other reasons about Steele too. Like there's some issues there around it's just really about saving money, which is kind of upsetting. So the other thing that happened is, there's a lot of stuff coming out, and a lot of the stuff coming out, I'm going to be honest, I think is kind of public show from people inside and outside the search about things. Some of it's real and some of it's, things that people want to put out to push their agenda and what they want. So but the big event last week it was clear that kind of Cristobal of Oregon was the number one candidate. We supposedly made an offer. He got a counter offer from Oregon. The Oregon Board of Trustees met last Thursday, and there was this running thing like Auburn fans were dialing in to the Oregon Board of Trustees meeting on last Thursday. And they only had one agenda item. It was offer him a new contract, and they did. And then there was a press release afterwards saying that he accepted it. And that offer was $4.8 million, which would be 10th in the SEC. 10th. Okay.
Golly, I never saw the numbers. Wow.
10th. So
we were paying Gus $7 million a year guaranteed, and he's got a huge raise now because of us to 4.8.
Yeah. But again, 10th. Okay.
Unbelievable.
So
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, was he really interested in Auburn? Was he going to come here? Was he using us to get a raise from Oregon? Like, that part we'll never know. But I also feel like we clearly didn't go in there and say, you're the number one candidate. Let's back up the truck and do whatever we have. We're not leaving until you say yes. So I have and this is what I want to talk about is kind of my philosophy about hiring, whether it's coaches or athletic directors or whatever. Okay. And you mentioned the other person's name that they were referring to as athletic director candidate. And I think this is a good example. Okay. When our rivals, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, hire an athletic director, they do a nationwide search and they see which other athletic departments are the best run by the smartest people who are both making money, being successful in sports, complying with NCAA rules, and and that they're really making those athletic departments better. And they hire those people. Florida and A&M and Alabama have all stolen away big-time athletic directors from other schools in the last 3 or 4 years or 5 years. Okay. And meanwhile, Auburn picked up Alan Green from Buffalo, and he's a good candidate and I like him. But the idea that we're going to promote this other guy to athletic director is the kind of thing that I want to talk about, because he's not a person that's going to get offered an AD job at any other college in America. So if he's not worthy of being a candidate at any other school in America, why should we hire him? I want the best people for Auburn.
Who are you referring to?
Tim Jackson.
Who are you referring to? Oh, right. Now, no, that's 100% that same old crowd. The story was that when we had the current president of the university, we had Jay Jacobs. Then when we went to Leith, he wanted more of a money guy, more of a technocrat. So he brought in Alan Green, because instead of a good old boy face of the program PR guy, he wanted an actual guy that, knew money and fundraising and stuff like that. But now we have the previous president back again, but we have the AD that was hired for the middle president. And so the current president and the current, we're back to running things the way we always have again now. And that crowd doesn't want an accountant, basically a fundraiser, a PR guy who is independent, has a brain. They want a face of the program that will be their mouthpiece and say and do what they want. And that would be the person that we're talking about here, allegedly. So they just want to go back to Jay Jacobs and have a Jay Jacobs clone as the back to the future,
And this goes to the head coaching search thing, right? What was the goal of getting rid of Gus and moving forward? Okay. Was it A, because we want to be better at football, or was it B, we wanted something different and we didn't care whether we're better at football or not, but we'd like to be better? Or C, we wanted something different and we don't care whether we're better at football, but we want to save some money. At D, we want all of those things. And we want somebody who will give us our sideline access and all that stuff back. And right now, it's looking a lot like D is Auburn's priority, when in my mind, the only thing that matters is A. Okay? I don't care about that other crap. The idea that Cristobal accepted an offer that would be 10th in the SEC pisses me off. I'm sorry. We should have gone there and offered him $6 million and made him say no. And so the idea that we didn't do that is a problem. And you think like, oh, wow, we didn't get that guy. I'm going to tell you, a year from now, when Texas or Michigan or some of these other schools open up, they're going to go there and pay the buyout and hire that guy away. So, we should be looking for who is the best football coach that nationwide. I don't care if they've ever set foot in the state of Alabama. Who's the best football coach we can get right now? And I think too many people at Auburn, and the names I see are like, who's the best football coach that we could get for our kind of small boutique, middle South school or whatever. And it really bothers me. This thinking. And so I don't understand not considering these other candidates. And I think when you look at these other, but this is the other question again, who would we hire that Alabama and Georgia, A, would consider hiring themselves, or B, would be afraid of? Okay. Those are the kind of questions we ought to be asking, not how can we save a couple extra $1 million and interview? Because the other thing that's out there today is that we're interviewing people and saying, well, we want you to keep some of the current coaches because we don't want to, because we think they're good coaches. But reality is we don't want to buy them out.
Right.
So,
And we promised Steele this retirement thing and everything.
yeah.
Well, and I think that there's some genuine legitimacy to the idea that those people think that Steele is a really good defensive coordinator and don't want to lose him.
I don't care about that at all.
You and I have talked. You and I have talked about this many times this season. John, seriously, how many times have you and I had this conversation where we said, where I've said like, they're afraid to fire Gus because they're afraid it would also cost them Steele. They want to get rid of Gus, but they're afraid they'd also lose Steele in the process. So what they did was like a backdoor deal where they could get rid of Gus and promise Steele he would stay on and maybe even be the head coach. They figured a way around that dilemma that you and I have been debating all year and talking about. But I wanted to go down this list and just kind of catch folks up on what's happened just like the last 24 hours.
But can we go back to that point for 1 second before we do the list? Because I think that's really important. Yeah. The idea that you are going to candidates and demanding that they keep certain coaches is an absolute no for big-time candidates. We're not going to get a...
It's what we've always done, though.
Again,
Terry Bowden kept defensive coaches. Gene Chizik had some of Tubbs' coaches, probably. I can't remember. Maybe not.
No.
But it seems like we've done this before.
But if I'm a big-time coach that could go to any job in the country, I want to have absolute say. Maybe I keep Steele, maybe I don't, but it's my choice, not your choice. When you're telling me that what I hear is that I'm not going to have choices about other things, that I'm not going to have choices about the recruiting, how I spend the recruiting budget or what we're doing over here. What I hear is this is going to be the first of many times when you're putting your finger on me and telling me you got to do it this way and you got to do it this way. No, that keeps us from getting the big person. And I'm going to tell you, Alabama was like this before. They were like this before Saban. They did this same crap. Exactly. They interfered all the time. They micromanage the coaching staff and all that crap. And Texas does that now, and it gets in the situation they're in. And when Saban got to Tuscaloosa, he said, "No, everybody get in line. We're doing it my way. No crap." And if we want to win, we have to do it that way. That's the deal. You can't. We've been like this for 5 or 8 years, where everybody who's been against Gus, we haven't been rowing in the same direction, and now we're here. And so I'm sorry for ranting. I'm just fired up about this, and I was a lot more fired up this afternoon. Okay, so walk down the list of candidates and let's talk about it.
Well, no, you're exactly right. That's exactly what we were going to talk about, I'm just imagining, from what we remember of Terry Bowden in 1993, because it's very instructive to look back and say, we've done this before. Why wouldn't they think we could get away with it again? They did it before. The difference was at the end of 1992, when they interviewed Terry Bowden was all about himself, right? He was me, 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 me. So when he came out of that interview where they told him, we're going to hire you, Terry, we're going to make you the next head coach of Auburn University. And we're going to take you away from Samford, and you get to be coach of Auburn. But you need to keep Wayne Hall as your defensive coordinator. Okay, what you just said is that any coach today would hear that and think, they're telling me who my coaches have to be? That's a deal breaker, right? Whereas Terry, being Terry heard, I win. Wayne Hall, fine, sounds good. Hey, I just had a great interview, y'all. Let me tell you about it. That's Terry Bowden, see, and that's what happened. And so,
we hired the coach from Samford. We hired the coach from Samford. He didn't have the leverage.
Oh, but Bill Clark is at UAB, and he's like, no. I said earlier today, when the coach at Louisiana and the coach at UAB both tell you that you're crazy for what you're asking from them, then I'm like, how far down have we got to go, man? Are they eyeing Clark was a high school coach. Gus got so much crap for being a high school coach. If we sign Bill Clark, I expect to hear him being referred to as a high school coach. But there's a couple of middle school coaches in Mountain Brook or something that might be wanting to interview. I don't know, if you tell them they can't hire their own assistants, that might be a deal breaker for them too. I don't know. But yeah, that's what happened with Napier. That's what happened with Clark. Absolutely today. If we can't get Bill Clark, give up. And here's the thing,
I don't want Bill Clark. I would say no.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm about to say, look, not only are we down to the coaches we don't even want, we can't even get them. Well, think about that for a minute. We can't even get the ones we don't want. This is like you go to a dance and there's like 5 beautiful young ladies standing there and they all say, no, I don't want to dance with you. And you're like, man, I really came here wanting to dance. I got my nice shoes on, the music's cool. So you go over to the young lady that's, not getting so much attention and is, not the prettiest girl at the ball. And she tells you to go to hell too. That's where we are.
Time out. How many job offers have ever been turned down by college head football coaches? 0. None. Because no job was actually offered until the person signed the contract, okay? Every college coach ever that you've ever heard say, I'm turning down this job, they were at a point where, they hadn't actually been offered the job yet. This is how it works all the time. So some of this, it is possible, and you need to consider this, that, for example, some of the Napier stuff is he went into the interview and maybe he didn't like what he heard. But maybe also he said, if you're going to hire me, you got 12 hours or whatever, and then I'm going back to coach my bowl game. And they said, we're not meeting your demands or whatever else, so we want you to have Steele, for example, and who Napier had worked together with at 2 other schools. And he said, no, I'm out. I'm going back to my school. I'm going back to Louisiana. Okay. So sometimes people aren't going to get the job and they say no. And I get it. Like I was warming up to the idea of Napier as a candidate. Okay. Some people, I'm at the point, and let's talk about, who the candidates have been, who the candidates are, and who the candidates ought to be. Okay. So, let's talk.
We got to start with crystal. We got to start with the old crystal ball. That's, to me, you start and finish there. You ask him, what does he need to do the job? He says it, and you write him a check. It's simple. If that's who we wanted, if that's who we thought was a game changer that was going to save the program and make us competitive with Alabama and Georgia, then that's what we needed to do, period. And when they didn't get that done, I thought, oh, boy. Well, the next 2, Sark and I guess Napier, I have them out of order. But let me ask you about Venables. I haven't heard word 1 about him.
He's on the list. Yeah,
I know he was on the interview list. The other Clemson coordinator, the Elliott, he actually opted out and said, I don't even want to talk to you. But Venables, I have not heard a peep about. He's the only one I haven't heard anything about in the last 48 hours. Nothing.
I hope that's a good sign, because on this list, I'd like him.
I would take him over any of the ones that are left. All right. So Cristobal said no. Apparently Sarkisian used this to negotiate a better assistant contract at Alabama. We know he has designs on the actual Alabama job, and pretty much going to Auburn would end, right? There's no way he would ever be Alabama coach if he was the Auburn coach. There's just that would be career suicide if his goal is to be Alabama coach. So he said no. We basically, it sounded like, offered the job to Napier, and he turned us down. We haven't heard anything about Venables. Haven't heard anything about Neil Brown other than they put him on the list when the list started getting thin. Like I said, Elliott opted out. And then we added Bill Clark onto the list as well at UAB. And apparently they were really getting hot and heavy negotiating with him. And then it kind of petered out as well late this afternoon. I just couldn't follow it all. So what do you know that I haven't?
Again, I don't think we're negotiating with anybody. I think we are interviewing people at this stage and talking and trying to decide who we want to hire. I don't think we have negotiated with anybody other than Cristobal. So I think, again, Sarkisian uses to get more money. Napier interviewed, but maybe he didn't like what he heard. And Venables he's correct about Venables. Venables has 2 kids on Clemson's team. So is he going to leave them and go somewhere else? I don't know, but I like Venables he's a great defensive coordinator, and the difference between him and the current Georgia coach when he took that job is what? You know, he hadn't been a head coach anywhere before. This guy's a great recruiter and a great defensive coach. He's been in a very successful program. I'd much rather hire somebody tied to Clemson than tied to Alabama right now. And I would. And the question for everybody on this list, again, we've talked a lot about the need for offense in college football. Then the question for everybody in this list is, tell me who your offensive coordinator is going to be and how you're going to score 40 points a game. So,
that's why I was leaning towards like, I mean, my original, I originally was, before you reminded me how bad it was, I was originally leaning toward Freeze, because I knew he could score 40 something points a game. But then I'm realizing, okay, that's not going to work. Then I started leaning towards Sark because I thought he could too. But obviously that's not going to happen. So at that point, I'm down to, Napier, because I feel like he could run a program and is a head coach. We're not like rolling the dice that this person even knows how to be.
He's a good recruiter.
Yeah, and he knows the South and everything. He's worked at Alabama and everywhere. But other than that, I mean, at this point, you got to go out and find somebody off the radar, the way that Chiswick went out and found Gus to be the offensive coordinator. It can happen.
So this is the question I want to talk about in terms of Steele as a candidate that they're going to come back to, right? We'll talk about Kiffin in a minute. The question for if I'm the interview panel, the question for Steele is very simple. Who is your offensive coordinator going to be? And if the answer is somebody who's going to run a slow, old school kind of offense like Mike Bobo, then the answer is thanks for coming. We'll be in touch. Okay, that's the answer.
You can't be serious. You cannot be serious.
That's right. So again, if Kevin Steele comes in and he's got who we think is the next Gus or the next Joe Brady in his pocket as offensive coordinator, I will listen. Okay, I would. Yeah. Now, it depends on how much of this other stuff is real. People is really true, but I would listen at that point. Okay, but if he doesn't, then no, I'm not going to listen. And the same for some of these other guys. The same for Venables or whatever. I need to know who the offensive coordinator is. And I get it. I see people saying Kendall Briles. He's a great offensive coordinator, but I'm not hiring anybody who is related to or worked in the Briles family. That either one of them.
Blanket to the 5th generation, blanket ban.
And I'm again, the Ole Miss offensive coordinator is the son-in-law, so I'm not hiring him either. So all of them, they're in the no bucket. And that's what I say. That family doesn't have a monopoly on freaking good offense. There's plenty of good offensive coaches. But I'm going to throw this out there and say we're not happy with the current pool of candidates. We're not happy with how things are going. It's time to step back, lock it down, and look around and take a bigger look around the country at some other potential candidates, okay? And let's say, okay, I mean, and I heard, no, good gosh, Paul Johnson. So, but
hey, John, there's a former offensive coordinator on the market now that won a national championship just a few years ago as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you're funny. So,
he's worked with Steele.
Yeah.
He's worked with this before.
I did like Auburn Elvis's thing of Steele getting promoted and hiring Gus as OC. I appreciate that. Or Rhett Lashley.
I didn't see that. I was just that's what I was actually saying. Okay.
But no, but see, he would bring Gus back just as OC and Steele as head coach, and then that would reverse roles. But I think some of the people that are out there, and I think some of the people honestly calling the shots at Auburn right now honestly think like if they just replaced Gus, that everybody else stayed the same, everything would be different. And I don't think that's 100% the case. I think you have to look at the big picture and say, who's a great coach that we could get. Again, I've had 2 guys on my list in the beginning that Auburn isn't even talking to, and that's fine. But let's look a little bit further. Like, how about, Monken at Army? The guy doesn't have to run the Wishbone. That guy's a great coach. We could hire Todd Monken not Todd Monken, the other Monken who's at Army, Jeff. Or the guy at Coastal Carolina. That is a fun offense. In a year or 2, that guy's going to be a big-time Power 5 coach. Why not bet now? Why not go?
I think that the money people here, they felt like the problem was Gus, and if they could get rid of Gus, the rest could be sorted out easily and without a lot of money. Whereas they didn't seem to understand that every time a coaching vacancy is even discussed for Auburn, the Auburn family immediately goes to who is the biggest name, Urban Meyer or Oklahoma, or who's the big Bob Stoops. Oh my God. That's what we always, I saw people going, Bob Stoops, Urban Meyer. I'm like, they're not even in football anymore. This is like the Tennessee people always wanting the old Tampa Bay coach, Chucky, when he's out of football doing television. It's that it's like the people making the decision are looking at this as a small problem. They look at it as like a surface thing where all they got to do is get the scalpel and cut off that little surface thing and put a Band-Aid on it, and we're good. And the entire Auburn family is like, when you decapitate this thing, what head are you going to stick on there? And they're like, wait, what? Head? We didn't say anything about buying a head. We're just cutting off a little tiny thing here. John Gruden, they don't seem to get that we aim high, right? That's the thing. Yes. The people making the decisions never seem to aim. When was the last, we've talked about this before on the show, when was the last time Auburn ever went out and tried to hire a big coach? Was it Vince Dooley in 1980?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because again, he was
an Auburn guy.
We ended up hiring. Let's review for people who don't know this history. We ended up hiring the head coach at Wyoming. We ended up hiring the head coach at Samford. We ended up hiring the head coach at Ole Miss. We ended up hiring the head coach at Iowa State. Then we ended up hiring the coach at Arkansas State. Those are where Auburn's hired their coaches from.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, hold on, let me back up. So, off the Auburn staff, Wyoming, Samford, Ole Miss, and Iowa State and Arkansas State. Arguably, the biggest program we have rated for a head coach is Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's right. So
that's what we do. So people that have this pie in the sky, I agree with you. That's what we ought to be doing. We act like we're that kind of program, and yet we don't behave like it. We think we're that kind of program, and we are that kind of program. We just don't treat it that way when it's time to actually do something.
We don't act like that. No, I mean, again, so I want to talk about a couple of these other candidates people named. Let's talk about Neil Brown, and then we can talk about Lane Kiffin. I'm not interested in talking about Bill Clark because I'm not interested in hiring him. Houston Nutt, nope. He's tan, rested, and ready, but
he's ready, man. He's just sitting back. Jim Donnan is out there. Jim Donnan is available.
So
yeah, Rusty nails it. Hey, look, Rusty nails it.
Yes. No, we're Florida, and we're acting like we're Middle Tennessee. Okay, that's what's going on here.
That's what we always do.
We need to be looking around who are the best coaches in the country and take our time. No, Cutcliffe, 10 years ago. So
I'll just say, but what he says here, the last 5 have won championships or not. Yeah, and that's with what we had to work with. Imagine if we, imagine if I mean we've just gotten lucky that Terry was able to get an undefeated team, 20 wins out of that that Pat Dye team, and Chiswick was able to bring in Cam. We've gotten some breaks on that, but Josh needs to understand. I'd be OC, John would be DC, and we'd need a head coach to keep things running. That's how we've always.
I appreciate I appreciate Winston throwing out Scott Leffler. That's really good.
Oh God, banned. Where's the ban button? Ban this person from the show.
All right. So again, I want to talk about a couple other candidates, and then we got 100 other things to talk about tonight. Neil Brown, he was, a coordinator.
Oh, the Troy guy.
He was at Troy under Tony Franklin, and then he was the offensive coordinator at Kentucky. Okay. And then he came back and was the head coach at Troy. When he was hired to be the coordinator originally, he was the youngest coordinator in Division I football. Okay. So he was then 2 years ago, he was hired to replace Dana Holgerson at West Virginia. So he's done all that. He's 40. So he's still younger. He's younger than any candidate we talked to. Now, again, I like him. I think he has a lot of that kind of spread offensive background. He did good. His record at Troy, he was at Troy for 4 years. So the first year he was rebuilding. They went 4-8. Go ahead.
He beat LSU. That's what everybody remembers him for.
That's right. But I mean, he went 4-8, 10-3, 11-2, and 10-3, including beating LSU. Now he's been at West Virginia 2 years. His records at West Virginia are 5-7 and 5-4. So that's a little Gene Chizik, Iowa State-ish. But I guess the thing I think about is he did beat LSU with Troy talent, and he's 40. He's a super young guy, so I think he's still on the way up. He was he played at Kentucky for Mike Leach and Hal Mumme. So, I mean, I like the youth. I like the potential there.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about him for a while. I think they're
okay.
I think it's, I don't know.
Okay, I appreciate that. How about again? I poo-pooed this before, but Lane Kiffin.
Say it. I know. Yeah.
Van, how do you really feel about Lane Kiffin?
I would rather have Hugh Freeze and the baggage than Lane Kiffin, because I tried to explain this last week and didn't do a very good job. Very quickly, at least Hugh Freeze acts like he's not an idiot, even when he's doing idiotic things. Lane Kiffin is an idiot and acts like an idiot, and it's just embarrassing. So maybe the things he's done and gotten caught doing aren't as, horrific. But I'd rather our new coach be a former murderer than a guy that just trips and falls on his face all the time but never actually killed anybody. Does that make sense? Just
I
hardcore,
but here's the Lane Kiffin is a really, really smart guy. He's a schmuck. I mean, I'm trying to use polite words on this podcast, okay, and PG rated words. He's Lane Kiffin is an asshole, okay, but he's a really good offensive football coach. I get it. I don't think he's an Armour guy either, but we're having this conversation. Again, some of these other coaches, some other coaches at other places, I would be more interested in. Yes.
God, it's going to come around to all this falling apart, and then we're going to end up hiring freaking Lane Kiffin, though. I honestly feel like it's like we're going to go up and down the list and going to bottom out, and then they're going to be, you know what? Let's just throw this guy some money and he'll come over here. I have a weird feeling about it.
Again, I'm not interested in hiring Lane Kiffin, but I think I get it. So, all right.
You did a poll.
I did a poll.
Yep. Just bring me on up. Yep. I come up to Auburn. Yep. Drop the ball plays on the ball field. Yep. Get it done. Can't spell UT without UT. All right. How's the poll look?
We're gonna try something here. You ready?
Let's do it.
Hold on. Can people see the screen?
Oh,
No.
hold on. There you go.
There we go. A little better. Trying to get rid of this crap up here. Anyhow.
Please rank the following candidates for the Auburn head coaching job.
So now we asked the patrons to answer this question, and this is the priority they put them in. Again, Napier and Cristobal at the first. Then Brent Venables. Then Luke Fickle again, who, if it was me, I'd hire him. Then Sarkisian.
This is like my list. Holy crap, this is like exactly my list.
Then Tony Elliott. Then Lane Kiffin. Then Kevin Steele. And then we put other. And somebody put Gus Mouse on. And somebody put Urban. I just thought that was funny. So,
oh boy, yeah, no, that's pretty much exactly my list right there, and that was uncanny how similar that was. So that makes me feel better though.
Yes, John could share this, but not his webcam. So,
because he was plugging it into all these different things, and he probably fried it.
No, it's. So again, I don't believe anybody's turned us down. I think we were talking to those people, and now we're not talking to those people. Again, here's the other thing I want you to, the other scenario that's out there. Okay.
Right. Hold on. Yeah, I'm ready to load up the wagon train and come on down to the plains. Sounds like a good plan. Woo! I'm going to run the Notre Dame T, this brand new offense, 4 fullbacks and a center. I miss Coach Snyder. Let's see. Why so much dislike for Clark? Well, apparently he turned us down. So that's. Yeah, this is exactly, Rusty, what I was talking about. We were rejected by a group of 5, Coach. And I've suggested this several times.
Two things, okay? I want to go back. There's 2 things here. Number one of the scenarios here is that we have identified a candidate with Venables or Steele and whoever else. I mean, telling these other people no, and then they put out press releases, I have turned down the job. Okay, after we told them no. That happens in coaching searches all the time. Once their name is leaked, they have to come out and publicly distance themselves and spit on the school if they don't take the job. This happens everywhere with every job. So that is one option, okay, that maybe we're talking to Venables or we've decided on Steele or whatever, and we're driving these other people away, and they're saying no. Okay, so that's option one. Number 2, like on Clark, again, he was a high school coach in Prattville. He supposedly, while he was there, was not friendly to Auburn recruiting and steered players away from Auburn, and that has kind of stuck with a lot of people. And at UAB, I mean, he got the benefit of some really sympathetic, NCAA rules, not hiring Takeo Spike. So,
well, PJ Fleck is the one that MD has asked about it. He was on my list for a long time the last few months. I've had good things to say about PJ Fleck.
I mean, again, he beat us in a bowl game, and I get that. I think he's a good coach. I mean, I think he is well organized, and he gets them. Part of what, again, this goes back to the question I had last week, and I want you all to think about this seriously, okay? what is the criteria that you want as an Auburn coach? And one of them is maybe we want somebody who, kind of gets more done with less, right? And I think that was, some of the coaches we've had do that. And I think Fleck does that. I think he's done that in the places he's been. So, I get that. I don't know whether he would come or not. I'm kind of skeptical about that right now. But I mean, I feel like did he sign an extension this year or something? There was rumors about him and other jobs, and I think he signed an extension at Minnesota. But I mean, I think he's a good coach. I think he's a really good motivator. I think he's well organized. I think he would do stuff differently. I think he's got a little bit of that Terry Bowden me thing in him, where he wants a lot of credit and pub for stuff. But I think he has a good eye for hiring talented coaches and turning them loose. They've done a good job recruiting talent up there. So, and Pat Fitzgerald's going to the NFL. So, I would be okay with Fleck right now compared to where we are. Absolutely, that would be a good hire. Van wrote Tom Herman on here. Texas is keeping Tom Herman.
Are they?
They are.
Are they?
They announced that they are.
If you ever wanted him, and he was like the hot name just a couple of years ago, then you know what I'm saying? This would be a good time to get him.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're keeping him because they couldn't get Urban Meyer. Again, I would hire the Coastal Carolina guy and their whole staff. That offense is fun. They're exciting. Again, they're like the 8th or 10th best team in the country this year. Okay, they're great. They're really good.
Never saw that. Never saw that.
And they are the single most fun offense in America right now. So if you want that back, that's the guy we should hire.
Remember when we used to be? Oh man, wasn't that long ago that we were the most fun offense, and then I wish we could just hire that Gus back. 2013 Gus was awesome. 2010 Gus was awesome. 2000, it wasn't even Cam. 2009 Gus was so much fun. What happened to him? I just don't understand it. Depressing.
Again, JB Chadwell is that guy's name. He's older than Neil Brown. He's 3 years older than Neil Brown, but he's a young coach at Coastal Carolina. I'd love to hire that guy. Now, again, Bradley's asking about Matt Campbell. I don't think we ever called Matt Campbell. It's because of I don't think we've called him or the Cincinnati coach because of what Vane was talking about earlier, how we see ourselves as this little school, and we can't do that. So, all right. So you did a funny list of questions today about potential interview questions, and I thought that was hilarious, and I would like for you to get into that now, please.
Let me just run through a few of these. These are crowdsourced. This is not me. I simply asked Twitter. This won't take but just a second. But I asked our folks on Twitter, what questions should the committee be asking potential Auburn head coaches to really figure out if they are Auburn material to be our head coach? And several folks gave us some pretty good answers. So Captain Friendly has several on here. He says, here is a list of 4 offices and 3 classrooms in Haley Center. You have 30 minutes to find each room and return with the item indicated on the list. You may not use a map or ask directions from anyone. Good luck.
Listen,
I don't think I could have done that.
I spent years at Haley Center. I don't know if I could do that.
No. Oh, this is a good one. He said, do you have any wealthy friends or relatives who own a Dodge dealership? Who is the best running back in the history of college football? A, Bo Jackson. B, thank you for your time. Have a nice day. Here's another question. What is your preferred defensive turnover trophy? A, the chain. B, the money bag. C, the spiked collar. Or D, nice play, son. Go sit down and act like you've been there before. I think we want D pretty much around our parts. Danny Flack said, on a scale from Mac Brown to Ted Lasso, rate your post-game victory dance moves. And I think we saw Gus's. Alpha Control podcast says, what's your plan for getting Auburn better at celebrating? We
got to get better at celebrating.
That's the truth. Spencer Larsh said, you have $5 million in the budget. What do you do with it? A, football-only facility. B, bag men. C, clone a Carlson. Or D, hire RoboGus as offensive coordinator. I got to say, RoboGus has really caught on. I'm really just kind of astonished at how well RoboGus caught on.
He's not 100%. Not 100%, but he was out there moving around, and he's still kind of day to day at this point. But the encouraging thing for me, he was out there moving around.
That is not RoboGus.
No, that was reporting on RoboGus's health. Let's see. He said, Spencer also says, name one obscure rule you intend to use to make Nick Saban throw his headset. I like that one. Justin Parker says, how many screen concepts are in your playbook? and if it's many, then stop by and get you some lemonade on the way out. T. Faircloth says, if your boss leaves Abbeville at 60 miles an hour heading north, and you leave your office at 40 miles an hour heading south, where do you meet to get your instructions on how you should do your job? Let's see. You said you gain a bunch of yards and hurry the line of scrimmage to run a play. What is the play call? Yeah, because if the play call is run up the middle, then, again, have some lemonade on your way out of town. It's right up there at the corner. M.R. Ingram, noted listener, says, let's do a little word association. Sugar, A, huddle, minus 1,000. B, bowl, plus 250. C, cane beats, etc., 0. D, diabetes, you bounce. And finally, Captain Friendly said, do you have I'm not doing very well at this tonight. He says, do you need to have any input on your own assistant coaches and staff, or can we just take care of that for you? A, what? B, thank you for your time. That was very well done, guys. I appreciate. There were a whole bunch more sent in, but I just kind of ran through and got the ones that made me laugh the hardest and threw them on there. I knew I couldn't take up too much time tonight. So, all right, I didn't have a music background to mess that up. I just wanted to get it out there. So, let's see. Anything else we want to talk about the head coaching search before we talk a little bit about signing day and then get to our listener questions and stuff?
Well,
again, I'm sure is going to get us right back to head coaching.
Let's step back and think about the timing of this, right? Again, if you were in charge, if you were in charge of how things worked at Auburn, and they came to you and said, we have the money, we really want, and Al Green said, we have the money, we want to fire Gus. I would have said, signing day is Wednesday, tell me who you're going to hire. And if the answer, and do you have him already, the deal already tied up with a bow with his name on it? And if they didn't, my answer might have been no. Okay. Because now we're here. It affected signing day. That's going to be a problem for years to come. And now, again, bowl games start now. Okay. They're literally bowl games starting today. And they're going to run all the way through the second. This is the other thing that's really impacting Auburn. If the season had ended when it normally would, and we weren't in all this stuff, then I would have told everybody we could have had a much better chance to get some of these other candidates. But because of the compressed time of this, and when our coaching search popped up versus the games and these other things, it impacted that. It made a difference. And so that's kind of impacts where we are. Our bowl game again is like a little more than a week away, 9 days away or whatever. And so, that impacts this too. So I think the timing of the whole thing is a problem. I think, the coaches that we are attempting to talk to are now deep into bowl practice, a lot of them, and they don't have time to talk and they don't have time to deal with this stuff. And so we kind of missed our window there. And so now we're going to have to, I honestly think we're going to have to wait until this stuff is over, until bowl season is over, and then go back and kind of pick up the pieces and move forward. I mean, it sounds insane, but I think a lot of the people that we're talking to or want to talk to can't do it right now. And I think the constant media frenzy and I'm interested in this job, blah, 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 blah. We need to lock all that stuff down. the leaks and all that, and get fewer people in the room, and then have a serious conversation, about where we're going and what we're going to do. So that was kind of where I think we're going. But
Oh my God!
yeah, thank you for that. I don't even want to talk about the signing day class. We got the agenda. We'll do all.
We did finish above Mississippi State in the West, as far as I know. We finished behind 5 of the teams, but ahead of Mississippi State. But the thing of it is, John, we weren't going to do that much better if we hadn't fired Gus. The class was what the class was. I mean, we lost a couple of fairly decent guys like the Goodwin kid, but that wasn't helping us that much.
No, again, I'm not. We're not fighting that battle again about should we have, again, but it goes back to what was the plan and what did it was going to impact these things. So, that stuff matters. But again, it's not the end of civilization. The recruiting class wasn't very good. It was, trend. But I think, again, a lot of the reasons it trended bad is because there was so much noise about getting rid of Gus. So it's the whole
blame yourself. Blame yourself.
Yeah.
Blame yourself.
All right. Well, my last thought about the coaching thing simply is, if we are to the point that we're trying to get the UAB coach and the UAB coach doesn't even want to come to Auburn, burn it down, blow it all up, salt the earth, start over from scratch. It's unsalvageable at that point. You have to go back to square one and you have to do a Saban 2008. You got to pick the person you really want. And they say, no, I already told you no. And you say, and they say, but I already told you no. And you say, and you just keep, remember in Smokey and the Bandit, Speedy car? Speedy car?
You back up the dump truck of money and keep pouring.
Make like you're trying to film an Avengers movie and this is Robert Downey Jr.'s house. You just back up as many armored cars as you got to and you get it done. Because this just scraping the bottom of the barrel, then picking the barrel up and scraping the floor under the barrel is humiliating. And here's the thing. Oh, this is what I was going to say a while ago. Here's the thing. Remember, we talked last week about how I was suspecting that a big reason that they did this whole thing, was they were embarrassed around Alabama fans. Remember that whole conversation? Our people in power don't like to be embarrassed, and they felt like Gus was embarrassing them in some ways as our head coach. Well, guess what? You're to the point now that anybody you're going to hire is going to be even more made fun of. We are at the position now where we're going to be more made fun of by our rivals for this than if we had just kept Gus. And that is truly gut-wrenching and disheartening. Yeah, because they found the house on fire and dropped napalm on it.
I hear you. And again, right now I'm a little skeptical about they were embarrassed by Gus thing and not Gus didn't let them do what they wanted to do thing, which is kind of where I think is some of that going on. And now they want somebody who will let them do what they want to do. And so I get all that, but again, it's still salvageable. We could get a good coach and a year or two from now, we'll be fine. And it may even be somebody that the media likes or whatever. We could be okay. But it may not be something the fans are excited about. But there's lots of good coaching candidates out there. And I get that. No, I mean, 100%. I'm trying to take a screenshot of Van with his head in his hand. So the reason that the rationalization for Steele works is because it's almost like it's orchestrated, right? It's a setup. So I get that.
somebody said that a while ago, and I didn't get a chance to put the comment up, but somebody said all this is doing, and one of you guys said it, and I'm sorry, is somebody said, well, all this is doing is just bringing it back around to justifying steal. And I don't think I don't know that's 100% like premeditated, but I think that's what's happening.
I think some
whether
of
we like it or not. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Let's thank folks real quick. How about we got to, man? And if we get you a new chair, maybe, and me a new chair, that'd be good. So they don't squeak and they're more comfortable. And we're going to have to get we're going to have to get you some kind of we got to do something with your camera. I know you blame it all on me and StreamYard together in a conspiracy, right? But we got to do something. Surely we can fix it. And here's the folks that are helping us fix it, John. And I'm going to do this real quick. If you want to join the fun, be part of the family and help us do these things, go to www.auwishbone.com. www.auwishbone.com is our main kind of hub site. It's got links to the shows. It's got like a little player. It's got a link to the YouTube channel, as you see here, all that kind of stuff. Let's have some fun. We always have fun when we do this. It's not boring. It's fun, man. I get to go down my list. Here are the folks that are for at least $1, as little as $1 a month, are helping to pay our expenses and keep our show on the air for another week. They include Carl Von Drunker, Samuel Salvatore, and Christopher Burleson. And then we have to thank Bart Lindsay, Bradley Blackman, Chris Usher, Gary Grant, Logan Chilton, Phil Amthor, Richard Stevens, Steve Trawick, and Susan Trawick, Tom Anderson, Willie Carden, Ann Kanjian, AU Falling Up, Ben Bloodworth, Clay Henson, Dan Thompson, Daniel Odom, David Evers, David Hegler, Emmanuel Seaman, George Gaston, Jacob and Robin Fleming, James Greenwell, Joel Beckham, John Otsuki, Catherine England, Kevin Smith, Mickey B., Phil Davis, Preston Siddle, Reynolds Wolf, Rich Reimer, Steve Harlan, Timothy, WDE Ritchie, Wes Atkinson, William Morgan, Wilson Beard, Winston Body, Alex Nguyen, Blake Heron, and Boris the Tiger, Cato the Barner, Chris Hilton, Chris Thrash, Colby Butler, Danny Flack, Darius Benton, David Simpson, Di Bama, and Not a Minute Too Soon, Earl Ricks, Eric Mahan, Hugh Anderson, Josh Teal, Kevin Kenoy, Kevin Mahan, Lane Middleton, Melissa Blackstone, Mike Finley, Algorithm, our newest member, Papa Todd, Randall Walker, Rob Morgan, Ross, Russell Milling, Shannon Butson, Sarah Hines, Shane Bailey, Snowdog, Stephen Houston, Tim Pittman, Todd Gray, Tony Perry, Auburn Elvis in the house, Ben Amos, Brandon Sisson, Brandon Smith, Chris Como, Darren Pyle, David Smiley, Donnie Reynolds, Ivor Evans, James Taylor, Jason Weasel Skull Albrick, John Stubbs, John Zavachin, Joey Miller, Joseph Iliff, Justin Bean, Lawrence Kane, Mark Squire, Matthew Flowers, Mick Vizicana, we're in the home stretch, Nicholas Craig, Patrick Williams, Paul Bankson, as well as Robert Drain, Robert O. Salmons, Russell Souther, Ruth, and Darren Sutherland, that's the truth, Ruth, Spanky, Stephen Thompson, Trevor Johnson, Kenneth Brent Range, Brent Rumble, Chris, and our one-time and anonymous donors. We thank you all. Go to www.auwishbone.com. And now, John, I'm going to assume I should push the button.
Thank you. Order. Questions to the Prime Minister.
Ooh.
It's time for listener questions. Dun, 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 on the AU Wishbone podcast.
Holy cow!
And that includes the SEC Power Poll. So let's go ahead and crank that out real quick.
All right, the power poll. We're going to attempt to do the screen sharing thing again.
Josh says, I'll buy you a camera for Christmas. Do a one-time donation. That is awesome. It's hilarious and awesome at the same time. So,
again, I'm looking at cameras on Amazon while Van is reading the thing. Again, this camera does work. It doesn't work with this, but okay. So put the screen up.
We'll figure something out. Oh, yes.
All right, this is the power poll. Again, from bottom to top, Vanderbilt alone. South Carolina. Man, that's so depressing.
We lost to them. We lost to them.
You are out of order.
I know. You know what I say about this list, John?
This little yellow thing. All right, so
Yes.
then I'm going to move my mouse here. The mediocre bottom, kind of the bad group: Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi State, kind of in that group. Then Arkansas, kind of the solid center of the conference. Not bad, but not good.
Hey, Arkansas is in the upper. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, they're right. They're the first team on the bottom half. Oh well,
they're the best
not
of the
bad,
bad
though.
teams.
They were supposed to be the worst, so that's pretty darn good.
Ole Miss and LSU, Auburn, Georgia,
Here we are.
Florida A&M almost tied here. A&M is here ahead. Alabama at the top.
Have we looked at hiring the Arkansas coach?
No, I don't think we can get him right now, but it's a good question.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I mean, this is a guy that took a team that's supposed to go like 0-10 or whatever, and has them in the mid pack of the conference. I mean,
but I think this is a good example, though. Where was he before? He was Georgia's offensive line coach. Okay, that's where he was before. So Arkansas used a little creativity and looked around and said, "Who's a good candidate?" And this guy was a great recruiter. And he came in and said, I can put together a great staff. Here's who I can get. And they hired him. If Auburn could identify, I don't care if somebody's been a Division I coach before. I don't. I would take one of the coordinators from Clemson tomorrow. But I want somebody to be able to outline who their assistants are going to be. And I don't care if they keep any of the current assistants. Let them lay out who their staff is going to be. And if there's somebody out there who can do what Pittman's do at Arkansas, let's hire that person. Even if they're a freaking line coach somewhere. So, well, again, do you know? Yeah, do you know who BYU's offense coordinator is? It's so good.
who's defense coordinator?
Do you know who BYU's offensive coordinator is?
Where's Jeff Grimes? I didn't hear the beginning.
Okay, sorry,
I didn't hear the beginning. So
Jeff Grimes is the BYU offensive coordinator.
So, okay, and they're pretty good right now.
Yeah, so I was saying we could hire that person.
Okay.
So
that's the last time our offensive line was really good.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to keep going here. We do not have any questions because it's all questions that, you're out of order and you're out of order.
So we've already answered all the questions, in other words?
We pretty much have. I'm checking right now.
Okay.
Hold on. Yeah. No, I'm just checking some other things for the show. Nope. Bill Clark says he's no longer a candidate.
Bill Clark is no longer a candidate?
That's what he
we've
says.
Been turned down by UAB. I hate to break the news to 14 MRH here, but it won't be, apparently. There we go.
All right. But again, I step back, and I want all of us together, everybody on this call, I want you to take a deep, and you listen to this podcast in your car or wherever, I want you to take a deep breath for a minute, okay? Just breathe, okay? By inhale.
The new Auburn fight song and play in the background.
I mean, again, it could end up being okay. Really, I'm not happy, but it's about process, and there's a lot of people throwing a lot of stuff out there in the process. So, all right,
I don't have to back this up.
All right, so let's go around the SEC.
You want to take a trip? Let's take a trip.
Please clap.
Let's take a trip around the SEC.
Mira hadn't sounded like that in 8 years. I love it. All right. So what do we got around the SEC in our last couple of our last segment basically here? Alabama, Florida. That actually turned out to be a good game. I'm glad I watched most of it because Florida, I mean, I said it before, John. We hate Dan Mullen's guts, but I'd have hired him to be my football coach. Say what you will. Say what you will. I would have hired that dude to be our football coach because I don't have to like him.
Yep.
I didn't really like Gary Bowden that much, but he went 20-0. I like 20-0. I enjoyed 20-0, John. I don't know if you remember that, but I did enjoy 20-0.
I enjoyed it very much. And again, he's a good football coach. And again, he's a good offensive coach, which is what it's about right now. So
exactly.
I don't know how much danger I ever felt Alabama was in, but it was a really good game, and I think that was as well as Florida could possibly play. So,
yeah.
All right, LSU beat Ole Miss.
Every day.
Just had to get that out there for Josh.
No, I hear you.
LSU beat them. I didn't get to watch a minute of this game, and I'm gonna have to go back and watch it on YouTube if I can find the highlights.
It was fun
because I just assumed. Well, Ole Miss scored immediately, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be a big beatdown, and I just turned it off and watched another game. I watched. There were a bunch of games all at the same time Saturday. It was annoying.
Yeah.
Bunch of good ones all at the same time.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see a minute of that, but apparently it was where did LSU suddenly start playing? How did we beat the snot out of LSU this year? It's just bizarre.
Teams, there's more random results this year. Teams are more up and down, but LSU got their crud together in the second half of the season after we crushed them, and they beat Florida and they beat Ole Miss to finish at 500. So
it's crazy. The last two times we beat them, we beat their doors off. Yeah. And every other time they've beaten us. It's so weird.
All right, so Mississippi State. Yep. Mississippi State beat Missouri.
How did they get their act? Oh, I read that Missouri decided to play like man-to-man and couldn't do it, and Mississippi State just ate them up.
There was some of that, and I think Missouri was missing some people too. But Mississippi State's not terrible, and
they're not. Remember how their game with them went.
So, and then A&M beat Tennessee pretty badly. So,
yeah, I saw that one coming a million miles away. All right, so we got coming up. Alabama's going to play Notre Dame, which is I'm like, seriously. And Clemson versus the thing I was wondering was if there was any way we were going to end up with like Clemson number 2 and Notre Dame number 3, and they were going to play for the third time in like 2 months, which I think would probably be a college football. I don't think there's ever been two teams play 3 times in one season before. Surely not, right? There's just no way. Maybe back in like 1890, like Princeton and Dartmouth played 3 times because they were the only 2 teams in their conference. So they went through. One of them went 3-0, and the other went 0-3 because they played each other 3 times. That's probably the last time it's ever happened. So what do you think, Alabama, Notre Dame? I think we know. I think we pretty well know.
My cold dead hands.
Lock of the week.
And that's got to be Alabama. I usually say that for Arkansas, but I had to go ahead and. The Texas Bowl, Arkansas versus TCU. Another. Hit it.
My cold, dead hands.
Lock of the week.
Because Arkansas.
You have failed me for the last time.
That's right. So, what do you think about the 2 playoff games?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. The entire playoffs and bowl system needs to be blown up and scrapped and start over. It's really bad.
I like it. Yes.
The matchups are terrible. There is no chance that a non-Power 5 team will ever make the playoff in its current structure. It's just zero. Like Cincinnati right now, I think would beat Ohio State or Notre Dame, either one. And they weren't even considered. And they dropped down some non-Power 5 teams, so the other teams got bigger bowl bids. So it's a bunch of crud. It's going to be Alabama, Clemson again, and I'm not going to watch the semifinals at all. I'm just going to tell you. So I think Clemson's really good. I think Alabama's going to beat them pretty solidly unless something happens. So
yeah, it's going to be Clemson, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be Alabama, Clemson again, and Alabama's going to beat them. And so just
that's it.
Don't talk yourself into anything else. So
no, that's usually my job to tell you that. Any other games here? I'm looking at the other Tennessee, West Virginia, Liberty Bowl. I mean,
well, again, we got South Carolina plays UAB on Saturday. We got to talk about that because it's not even going to happen. By the time we have a podcast again, that game will be over.
Yeah.
But no, the rest of them are blah, 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 blah. In terms of the SEC games, I don't care. South Carolina doesn't deserve a bowl bid. They went 2-8. I know they changed the rules this year, but they don't deserve one. They 2-8 fired their coach. They don't deserve a bowl bid. This is all about the SEC maximizing revenue. That's what's going on here.
Yep.
So they're getting more TV money from having more bowl things. And we'll talk
Florida,
about
Oklahoma is intriguing.
Yes. The best of the SEC bowl games is Florida, Oklahoma, and that's 8 p.m. I think it's on the 30th. So
yeah. I'll be honest with you right now. Georgia, Cincinnati is a little tasty morsel, and A&M North Carolina I may tune in for. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, A&M North Carolina is going to be a really good game. North Carolina's offense is really, really good. They're going to score some points, and I think Ole Miss Indiana could be a really fun game too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see
that's going to be some points scored in that game too.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some points scored there too. Yeah, no doubt about it. Auburn Northwestern. I guess we'll do a bowl preview. Maybe we'll have time. I don't know.
A week from now, we'll wrap up. Talk more about coaching search chaos, and then we'll talk about the preview the Auburn Northwestern game in the bowl game, the Citrus Bowl. And I just got to warn you now, Northwestern's really good on defense, okay, and they're not good on offense. So this could be like a kind of a boring defensive game. So just prepare yourselves now. It's not going to be like that other Northwestern Auburn game. It's going to be.
Oh man, that 2009. Yeah,
it's going to be.
That was the game that got us all.
Yeah.
That 2009-2010 bowl game was our last competitive football game before we got Cam. And that's the one that got me all excited about 2010 because we had played so well against Alabama in the Iron Bowl that year, even though we lost. They were national champions, undefeated. And then we played so well and looked awesome battling into overtime against Northwestern that I was like, man, we get in some more players. And we knew that some of those guys were coming. I'm like, 2010 has a possibility to be a very memorable year. You think? It turned out to be. Uh-oh. Hold on, Bradley.
It's a trap.
What do you think about question here?
Okay. No. Again, Northwestern's defense is really good, and our offense is not going to look good in this game. Prepare yourselves now. Okay. So, we'll a lot to go on there for our patrons. There's a bowl pool. I sent out a link today. You need to join it soon because bowl games are starting. So that includes you too, Van.
What am I doing?
They're joining the bowl pool that I sent out today for the patrons.
Oh, good. Yeah, bowl pool. So yeah, we've got the yet another perk for the patrons. You've gotten to do your SEC Power Poll every week, and you get to be part of the bowl pick'em pool, which will be awesome. We're constantly trying to find these fun things because a couple of things I've learned over the last couple of years doing this is that patrons don't want something time consuming. They don't want something that's away from the core concept of our show, but they do enjoy doing something on the side, like, a March Madness pick'em or a bowl pool pick'em type thing, or the voting in the, for the Power Poll or whatever. We're trying to give you guys stuff that you like. So, that's just another example, So if you ever have any ideas for stuff that we could do, drop us a message or tweet or something or email, and we'll look at it. We'll consider it because we always trying to come up with new stuff. Doing the videos like this is just another example. Somebody suggested it yesterday, I think, on Twitter. Said you guys ought to do a live show, talk about the coaching thing. I'm like, hey, we haven't had really a reason to do a live show in a while, but I thought it was a legitimate suggestion, and so here we are. Here we all are. So. All right. Well, John, you got it's 10:34 communist time over in your Eastern Bloc part of the country, so you got to go to bed soon. So we're going to cut you loose here, and I'm going to head out, and I got to turn this into a podcast before I go to bed. So, any final thoughts on all this chaos?
I do have a couple of final thoughts. I want to first all for a moment to think about the players on Auburn's current roster, and especially I want you to think you're a freshman player at Auburn. You've never lived away from home. You're 18 years old. You signed to join the team and go to Auburn. You're excited about going to college, getting away from home and, living on your own. And you go through this season. Okay. You don't know if football is going to happen. You don't know if it's maybe it gets canceled. Maybe it doesn't. Then it's on, you don't get a real fall. You don't get spring practice. You don't get a real fall practice. Fall practice is kind of weird, and everybody's worried about, masking and staying apart and all that kind of stuff in the meetings. You don't get to go out at night and on the weekends. You don't get to go home. You're stuck on campus, kind of sitting in your dorm room, and everybody keeps telling you to be careful so you don't affect the rest of the team. You don't get to go home the whole season. Okay. Until it's over. And so, then they gave the players some time off now after the last game to go home and come back. But that's tough. Okay. That's been tough on them. And I think about them a lot. And I know the players loved Gus and they were unhappy to see him gone and played very hard for him. And I think they're probably not enjoying watching the current circus, and it's bothering them at least as much as it's bothering us. So, whatever happens, some players are going to leave regardless of who the new coach is. Even if it's somebody in the current staff, a bunch of players are going to leave. It's going to happen, and you should expect it. But that's part of this deal. And so I think about them right now and what they're going through. And, I hope that we hire a good coach who, again, and this kind of thing matters to me, somebody who is a good person. So.
Well said. Yeah. It occurs to me, talking about bowl games for the first time really tonight, I think I finally kind of put my finger on what's felt so weird about all of our games this season because of the circumstances. To me, and maybe it's just me, but to me, it's almost felt like every single game we played this year was like a crap level bowl game in Birmingham or Shreveport or something, with nobody in the stands and just not as much excitement as there needed to be, as there ought to be. And it just kind of felt every game this season felt kind of like we were watching a 7-5 Auburn team playing in the Weed Eater Bowl. That's how every game felt in a way. And it's depressing, and it's not the player's fault or anything like that. It's just how it felt. And given that, going 6-4 for Gus was actually pretty good. For Gus's team to go 6-4 in bowl games, they should have given him a raise after this year. But so there you go. There's my observation for whatever little it's worth. All right, John, I guess we're going to close up shop. I appreciate everybody tuning in and joining us. The comments have been fantastic. I'm sorry I couldn't get all of them up there. We had tons of great comments. I just felt like if I kept putting every comment up, I was going to derail myself and John. We were going to be going till 3:00 in the morning, which might have been fun, but it wouldn't be great for either one of us to do or any of you guys to hang around. So it worked out really good. And again, this will go up as our regular podcast tonight ready for tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. So, all right, our time is up. We thank you for yours. War Eagle, John.
War Eagle, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks, guys. And we'll try to do another video show at the next opportunity. And, John, we'll have a technical session sometime to try to just at our leisure try to get the video figured out. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to let everybody go, and I'll see you guys. See you later, John.
Night.